Weekly Game Talk.
This week, we dove headfirst into Moon Hunters, an indie adventure game developed and published by Kitfox Games. Moon Hunters allows you to take control of one of several classes of characters and explore a world dedicated to the worship of the moon and the sun. Throughout the game, you are presented with various interactions with citizens of the world, and those interactions often involve you making decisions that may impact your stats, as well as other key story points. Prior to recording our impressions of the game, we attempted several times to play the multiplayer portion of the title, and each time met with failure. I will say with 100% honesty that those repeated failures did impact my overall feeling toward the game. That being said, I have spent an additional 2 hours with the game post-recording, and while my overall thoughts have not changed, I will admit that I do have a better appreciation for what they were attempting to accomplish. What were my thoughts overall, and what were everyone else's thoughts? Stay tuned to find out. Hey everybody, welcome to Weekly Game Talk. If I don't sound very enthusiastic or energetic, it is because my guest and I have spent at least an hour and a half trying to get the multiplayer online component of this week's game, Moon Hunters, working so that we could discuss the game and play the multiplayer live, give some real-time impressions. However, that has failed miserably, utterly, in every conceivable way. I think we probably played online for a total of maybe 5 minutes. But before we get into that, let me introduce my guests. Full group this week. And all returning folks. So first up, we have JP Smee. Second, we have Will. Hey, Will.
Evening.
And last but certainly not least, Jatois.
Hello, Jatois.
So, you just said hello to yourself. Okay, awesome.
Yes, I did.
If we're gonna third person this, and I'm there mentally with you. So, all right, let's try to keep this as organized as possible, and use our normal format. So, let's start off with the visuals. And I'll go ahead and start. This game is not. You don't play this game for the visuals. The visuals aren't bad. The visuals are not a key selling point unless you are really obsessed with pixel art, pixel junk type graphics. I mean, if that's your thing, this game is going to be right up your alley. That I don't play a game specifically for that art style, so it really didn't swing me one way or the other. It was fine. The animations were kind of neat. The visual effects were cool. Visuals-wise, the game was fine. Normally, we also talk about sound in this segment. So sound, the music was actually kind of nice. I dug the music. It was very mellow, very new agey. When you walked into a village, it was very, I don't know, tribal, new agey sounding. I guess new agey is the best way I can describe it. But it wasn't bad.
I think that's the theme for the game as a whole.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. So yeah, music, good. Visuals, good. Nothing was great, but nothing was bad. So that was my take. Jatois, what about you? Visuals and music, what'd you think?
Visually, I think the game actually looks pretty good for a little pixel art game. I mean, pixel art is something that's kind of making a resurgence. So right. I think I've gotten used to playing a lot of.
I mean, I think that resurgence is here and been here for a while now.
Yeah, and I'm 100% fine with it. Since I started at games like Zork, to me it actually looks pretty damn good. So I mean, I'll be honest. I like the art style. It's not very taxing on the system, and it runs pretty smoothly.
Right.
Audio-wise, I love this music. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of tracks, and
true.
During combat, I mean, you go into combat or you go into a zone, you get like one song. Right. That song continues on until you're out of that location. So there's not a whole lot of variation going on there. So
Right.
that's kind of a negative mark on it. And those tracks get really repetitive really
Yep.
quickly.
Yeah, you spend 5 minutes with the game, you pretty much hear every track the game has to
Yeah.
offer.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are fantastic tracks, but I keep saying this in other games as well. There is a lot of free music that is out there that a lot of these artists don't, that a lot of these game creators just aren't capitalizing on, and they really should take the time out either to go to SoundCloud or to go to these free locations. Even Katu has music that you can get for relatively cheap. So I mean, it's not like it's not out there. Game
Right.
developers just need to spend a little bit more time with the audio and audio cues for the game to really stand out before you want to really quickly throw it on mute because you've already heard the same song over and over again.
Right. No, I get your point. I feel like you're right. A lot of games are maybe. I think it's not. I don't think it's that music's not a key cornerstone for them. I think it's more that they feel like they can get away with less, and in some instances you can, but more often than not, the looping and the repetitiveness will start to get to people, especially people who are more inclined to not play a game on mute, and to not replace a game soundtrack with their own. Those people will notice right away whenever things start to get repetitive. Um, but there's also indie games that do a fine job of having non-repetitive music that they do make their own. For me, a prime example of that is Undertale, um, and the creator of the game, Toby Fox, he made all that music himself, um, and it's fantastic. And there's a lot of different tracks, so it's possible to do on a small budget. It's just you have to have the people who have that talent, or you need to find the people who have that talent, and you really need to, make sure that you don't just have 5 tracks in a game that's 4 hours long, in my opinion. But Will, what did you think about the look and sound?
Oh man, the graphics remind me a lot of old school like VGA, early early PC gaming type graphics,
Mm-hmm.
but with shadows, and um, and it's great.
Now,
I just fucking love these graphics.
d- I'm glad you mentioned the shadows, because let me ask, just did you like the idea that when you walked around an object, the shadow moved based on where you were? Because
Yeah,
did you notice that? Did anybody else
I
notice that? Like
I
as you moved around an
loved,
object.
absolutely
Yes,
loved the
yes, because the
lighting
lighting,
effect.
yeah, as you
Oh.
walk around, I mean, even if you're not casting a
Because
light,
I'm on the whole opposite end of that spectrum. Because that
I
is
thought it
so
was
not
pretty cool.
realistic.
But the
Light
problem
sources
is, yeah,
do not move
you're
with the
not casting a
person
light in
when
that
you're on
fashion.
a third person perspective. The light
Yeah,
source should stay where it is, and the shadow should stay where it is, because the light source isn't moving, you're moving. The fact that as you moved, the shadows moved with you, like on static objects, not you, but like as a pot shadow would move as you moved around it. No.
See,
yeah, as real time lighting.
the way I interpreted it was it was reflecting line of sight.
yeah,
So if something was in the shadow, it meant that your character was having a difficult time seeing it because there's something physically blocking their view. It's like fog of war.
I get
That,
that, but
that
it
that but
really
that's
was jarring for me.
I can see that, but I mean that's at least how I kind of took it. And in that interpretation, at least for me, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was kind of a neat little nuance, and yeah, I could be completely wrong, and that's fine. But
No, I mean, hey,
Yeah,
game criticism is completely subjective. So,
true, true.
because
anyways,
you gotta love old school art style, but they also use shaders.
Mhm.
You can clearly see use of shaders when you're using the special moves.
right.
yeah. I think it's a great little addition. I really enjoy it because I mean, there's not many games you see that actually have that little extra effect that you actually do notice. And when something actually utilizes it and you do notice, whether you like it or hate it, it's something that's in the game that took a little extra time, a little extra finesse, and it's something that can be perfected later on.
Right. What about
Music.
the music? Yeah.
Oh man, this is for some reason the the lyrics work in this game where it didn't work for me in Flame in the Flood.
I don't think there are any real
I
lyrics.
mean,
Oh yeah, there
Oh,
are.
there's definitely
with that-
singing.
Oh, you're talking about the little. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but
you
it's
didn't like
but see
that?
the
I thought
thing
it was
is
kind of groovy.
the thing
But it
is
sounds
though
like words.
it is words, but it's done in reverse. So yeah, I love that. I thought it was
Yeah,
kind of
it adds a little.
haunting and
It
it was
actually
great.
matches the ambiance really well.
Yeah, it really did.
it was very new agey, very old school new agey type stuff.
You need to
So
come up with a new term because it's getting
I
old
was trying
already.
to remember the name of the group that did the opening music for the X Files. Anybody remember
Uh,
them?
there wasn't a group that was like Chris Carter himself
Yeah,
did
but he
that.
also
Oh.
he got. I thought I for some reason I thought there was somebody who got involved with doing that
His wife,
from
because
a new agey thing.
she whistled the tune.
Okay, so maybe I'm completely wrong with that.
Pretty sure that's how that happened. But anyways, I could be completely wrong, but I know I'm like 99% sure that was Chris Carter.
Okay. Anyway, I'm talking around that time frame that show was on the air. There was a new age group, and I can't remember what the freak they're called, but it reminded me very much of their music. Anyway, so JP Smith, what'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, yeah, I do see the criticism about the looping, but I honestly didn't mind it so much because I actually really enjoyed the music. The art style I've mentioned before. I love me some good pixel art, and this was good pixel art. I also appreciated the character designs for the stills, like where you would have your
I
conversations
actually
with people.
prefer that over the in-game graphics.
That surprises me because I know that you are a
I'm
bit
a
of a
real big
nerd
fan of
for
pixel art.
pixel art.
It
Yeah,
was just very. I think it was because it was very muted, and it
gotcha.
was very like. I appreciate when pixel art goes for the minimalist approach
Right.
because there's a lot of different ways you can do pixel art. You can do high density pixels, where like something like Stardew Valley, or you can do something more low density and minimalist like this game. And I tend to favor the higher density
Gotcha.
um, versus just a very muted palette. And maybe that fits with the kind of the setting that they're going for and the story they're trying to tell. Um, I guess if you really want to break it down, when you look at things in moonlight, everything looks a little bit more muted and similar color tones. And since
hmm
the moon is a big aspect to this game's story, maybe that's was an influence. I don't know. I could be reaching and making shit up, but
No,
I don't know.
I think that's valid, and the color palette definitely kind of drives with that. But one of the things I wouldn't comment on though about the sequences where you actually see the characters drawn out, I really dig the character designs. I think
Yeah.
they're really creative, really original. In particular, I really liked the I can't remember what class it was. It was the dude with the swords. Um,
See,
it
I may
like
not have unlocked that class because I don't know which one you're talking about.
it's the starter one. It's like the first
Oh, the
class when you
spell
first
sword.
yeah
Spell
the
sword.
spell sword I think it was or something like that,
Spellblade.
something like that. But yeah, like he if you actually look at the design, it's like his blades are actually like hovering kind of like they're actually chopped up and there's like
I
part
didn't
of
notice
them
that.
that's just hovering in
Interesting.
the air and it looks super cool and I just thought it was a really neat idea visually, and all of the classes have neat little like artistic flourishes like that going on there and
Yeah,
yeah it was creative and fun
I
so
think my favorite visually was the druid. Um, the grass kind of tunic thingy was like something straight out of Princess Mononoke. It was really kind of cool.
yes and to that end I can't remember which village it was but one of the villages the chief of the village totally had a mask thing going on
Yep.
that was very similar to that and it was great.
Yep. All right, so that is that. Now, what about the gameplay? For me, the gameplay was fine. And right now, we're talking about the single player, obviously, since we really didn't get to experience the multiplayer. From a single player perspective, Jatwa laughing kills me. Oh god, my heart just hurts so bad. From a single player perspective, the gameplay was fine. I won't get into the choices part yet because I almost feel like that plays into the story.
It does.
The gameplay in terms of like the combat and how the game controlled, I played primarily with keyboard and mouse, and it controlled fine. It controlled well. There were a few issues with the menu system where, depending on where you would click on certain things, I felt like I had to click a bunch of times to get it to activate. So maybe the hot key areas or the hot zones for the menu selections need to be corrected. In terms of controlling the combat though and using the abilities, that was fine. I thought it controlled great. I mean, this is a deep game and it's not overly complex in its controls. Once you figure it out in the first 2 minutes, it pretty much doesn't change. But I mean, they're all right. I can't really say they were great or that they sucked. They were kind of meh. So, JP Smith, what'd you think?
I honestly completely loved it. Yeah, I did. I completely did. I like everything. I'm.
Okay. I mean, hey, you know what?
It was fun. I mean, I only started playing the game like 2 days ago, so that's shame on me for being late to the party on that. But in that time, I've gone like a little bit nuts and trying to get every achievement I can, and it's
Damn.
not often I have games that I just kind of jump on like that, like this one. And yeah, I'm loving it. I even like the little crafting system with the with like making food or whatever,
Right.
the cooking system.
It
Like
kind
I
of
was
reminds me of those cell phone elements games where you drag the different elements and try to
Yes,
create something.
yes.
It has that kind of flair to it.
It does, and it's kind of neat, and I liked. I guess we'll talk about the choices thing later, but
Right.
I did like that because it led to some really interesting scenarios, and those scenarios led to other characters, and it definitely built on itself. So I felt like every time I played the game, the game just gave me that much more, to want to come back and play again and experience a slightly different flavor of the game. And
Right.
yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
So, what did you think, Jatois? Remember, we're not talking about the decision aspects of it, but strictly gameplay speaking, what do you think?
I think the gameplay is actually pretty well done. Now it was some parts are a little annoying to be honest, but
Like
I
what?
mean that's a given. There's going to be some parts that are going to get on my nerves, but I think the game overall actually handles itself really well. It's one of the few times that I can honestly say that I have enjoyed a game like that is work that actually flows like this.
Now, what was it that annoyed you specifically? Do you remember?
I feel like some of the hitboxes are off and
Yeah.
wrong. Because at an angle, if you're at an angle, the game seems to struggle a lot. So that is a little concerning
Right.
because it's like, okay, all I wanted to do was shoot at this angle, and that didn't work at all. So
Okay.
you start to get that and mix it in with a lot of the other problems that you have, and the game kind of can be frustrating after a while
Yeah, object collision was a little annoying.
because you don't
Kind
know
of-
what you're really going to collide with.
Right, especially with the more ranged characters. I found that I didn't always 100% know whether or not something was going to block. Like for instance, the druid attacks. I sometimes didn't know that I was behind something because of that muted color palette. Some of the things felt like they blended a little bit into what was going on. So yeah. Anyway, Will, what do you think about the gameplay?
See, I can add to what you're talking about there because I know exactly what you're talking about. It's because you're allowed 360 degrees movement, but there's only there's only four different directions of assets that they've got coded in there.
Right.
So when you're diagonally moving, you can only basically aim directly up or directly 45 degrees to the right.
See,
controls your aim when you're trying to defend an attack at an angle. You cannot. You basically have to line the shot up, which is why you're constantly getting hit from those lateral sides.
Now, one thing I feel like I got to jump in on this because I was playing with, I use my 360 controller. I found that you can actually use the right stick to adjust your aim in any direction you want. Like you're not limited by any cardinal
Exactly.
direction.
Which is what totally.
So for me, like that totally was not really a problem. I even had situations where, specifically playing the druid, because they're kind of like shooting their leaves or whatever it is that they're shooting.
Power leave.
And right.
That's what I'm talking about, though. That's exactly what I was leading into.
What I would do is I would anchor myself, and then I would just kind of slowly change my angle until I got it right where I wanted.
Yeah, that's why I could not play that guy. It was so annoying trying to get those. You're shooting 3 different beams, and yet not a damn one of them wants to hit anything, and the monsters are running between the beams. I'm sitting here like, are you effing kidding me? You
Yeah,
could hit something.
You could totally upgrade that to have like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I couldn't do it, and I found it actually easier to go with Hedunia. I can't remember if she was a witch or not. But even with just that one beam, I could at least warp around and get myself out of trouble.
Well, anyway, sorry, Will. Keep going.
Yeah,
No,
I
that's all good.
apologize because
I was just going to say there's so much potential there, but because of that, like it just didn't work. Oh, and I don't know if you can change your key binding, because mine's grayed out. I don't know if did you have to change your controls, or were you just using the right stick to actually aim?
Well, remember, I was using keyboard and mouse. So for me,
I didn't have to change my controls at all, but I did, like, partway through, just kind of by accident, honestly. I hit the right stick. I was like, oh, it's letting me change my direction. Okay, that's cool. So, no, I didn't set that up. It was something that was just kind of...
That's what I'm saying. On my controller, you can't use the right stick and also press a button. So it's like you can't attack while you're using that.
You can't. Yeah, with the controller, you can't change.
Are you actually holding the controller right now in your hand?
Yeah, I'm actually playing right now.
I was going to say, I hear
the
the controller.
I'm totally playing as well. So.
Okay, well, good. So you're building real-time impressions as you do that. I gave up, so fuck it.
It was a lot of fun, and then really got frustrated quick.
All right, well, let's move into the story parts of the game. So, one of the big selling points that this game has is that it's called a multiplayer personality test. The game will present to you various options throughout the game. So the game presents various options throughout the experience and encourages you to make choices that then impact the game. I think the very first one you get is what to do with a baby. And more often than not, for me, I usually pick like the compassionate options, the friendlier options and things like that. I played through the game twice. The first time I died when I got to the boss, some evil king who challenges you, and after a certain number of days goes by and you don't successfully find whatever you're supposed to find to get the moon back, he confronts you. And I died the first time, like, almost right away. I was really pissed. The second time, I charmed him outright, and we became lovers. And we sailed off into the sunset, and were never heard from again. And the game ended right there.
You got an achievement for that, if I recall.
Probably. I don't know. I was like, oh, okay. I meant like charm, as in tell a joke, slap the knee. Hey, let's be friends. Not, hey, let's go bang in the woods later.
Sexified him.
And yeah, that was the game, and I was like, okay,
wow,
all right, that's interesting.
That was an option. You do your thing. Sexy.
This was just another area that was just meh. Like, it was neat having the choices. Here's my problem. I've played games that have done this better.
Mm-hmm.
Have offered the same experience where I felt more immersed and more sucked in. And I don't know if maybe it's because those games had different visual styles than this one. Something about this game, I was just not emotionally connected with any of the decisions, any of the outcomes. So, wow, I sound like a negative Nancy about this
really
game, but
do.
I
It's
just
funny.
it didn't strike the chord that I was hoping or that I expected it to, based off of what I had read about the game before playing it. Anyway,
Now, I'm trying to remember. Was it you that picked this one? Initially?
I think it was. I think I was the one who nominated this one. Mainly because I thought the personality aspect of the game would lead to a good discussion points during this video. And honestly, other than the baby one and then the final boss encounter, I can't remember a single goddamn question I got asked or what I may have selected. Like, if you guys tell me a question, I might remember it. But other than that, And I was really tired of being told I couldn't talk to animals and all these other really weird, stupid things. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get too negative and drown in sorrow. So, Will, what do you think about the story?
I didn't pay attention to the story,
Cool.
to be honest.
Fair. No, I appreciate the honesty. I mean, okay, cool. Next. Judge Wall, what do you think about it?
I actually enjoyed the story. It's got a nice little story going along with it, and I mean, you are pretty much going to battle the sun guy, or you're gonna sexify him up and ride off to the sunset and gangbang, whatever. But I think that the story that they have in there with Twerky Booty, the ritualist, she's really. It's pretty deep. I mean, I've played the game.
FYI, there is not a character named Twerky Booty. That is
my character is totally named Twerky Booty right now. Okay. So I thought that the game was pretty well told out, because there is something is going to happen, and it's not long and drawn out. It's like, hey, 3 days later, I'm going to try to kill you. It's like, all right, okay, I'm going to build up my strength, and I'm going to murder face you. So, which is pretty much, I mean, he destroyed me the first time, because I had the little leaf throwing guy, and I was like, well, great, this guy sucks. He was terrible. I didn't like him. And I switched to the ritualist, who only, like I said, can only throw out one beam, and it was easier. But I liked the way that the story was flowing with her behind it a lot better than it can do, whatever, however you pronounce his name.
See, I just didn't. When the dude shows up at your camp and says, "Hey, some guy I worship or serve is gonna kill you in 3 days," I was like, "Okay, whatever." Like, I was literally, the very first time it happened, I didn't even read the dialogue, and so when the day counter kept coming up, I'm like, "The fuck is going on?" And then he shows up and is like, "Hey, I'm here to kill you," and I'm like, "What the hell?" And then the second time, when I paid more attention, I still didn't give a shit. And I still was like, okay, I'm going to just do what I want to do anyway, and walking around looking at stuff. Like, to me, this game gave you no real motivation or point to do fucking anything.
I mean, it's really just about running around and killing things. That's the point of the game, is to kill stuff. So there's only so much story you can throw behind something this simple. And I mean, that's not really what it's set out to do, from what I understand. It seems to be more about the choices you make rather than the story itself. And then you can kind of analyze. I wish, you know what, it would make it better if they had a way to analyze the story afterwards. So you can analyze your choices. Okay, this is what you did. This is why you're a horrible person.
Well, see, you haven't gotten through the first chapter of Life is Strange, so I can forgive you. But this game is basically trying to be that. And maybe that's why I feel so bitter about it. Because it's trying so hard to play in that sandbox. And instead, it's digging a hole out behind the house and playing in the mud. And yeah, anyway. JP Smee, have I already asked you what you felt about it? Do I care what you feel about it? What do you feel about
it? I've already basically indicated that I love this game. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I don't think this game is about just running around killing things. For one thing, sorry, sir. I actually really liked the story. I liked again, like I mentioned before, like every choice you made kind of led you down a slightly different version of the world, and every time I played it, I got a slightly better, slightly bigger, more complete image of what's going on. Um, yeah, so yeah, I loved it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna skip the gripe and positives because I kind of feel like we've covered most of that, especially me.
Yeah.
So just
Talk about the multiplayer. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, you know what? Thank you.
It's the elephant in the room.
Thank you for bringing
we
that
gotta
back
hit
up
that.
again. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we tried for about an hour and a half to get the multiplayer going. The way you don't connect to like some kind of server or anything like that. It's a host situation. So one person has to be the host, set their router configuration up appropriately, and everybody else has to try to connect to that person. Every single one of us tried to host a goddamn fucking game, and
Gosh dang freaking game.
only JP Smee successfully hosted for all of about 2 minutes.
And to be fair, we probably could have actually kept on going, but I was like, hey, now that we got it working, let's start over so I can pick a different character. And once we did that, we were never able to get it to work again.
And you know,
Totally
honestly,
my fault.
Totally was.
Even when we did
It was.
play,
Yeah.
even when we did get in, the lag was present, and
It's true.
it varied. I think for each of us, for me, it was fairly significant, to where I could barely. I felt like if we were going to proceed with the game, I really would have not contributed much to anything. I would have mainly been a spectator because I would move in one direction and it would take at least 2 seconds before my character would do anything. It was really, really kind of awful. Just if this game wants to be a multiplayer game, they have got to figure that shit out. That feature, for full transparency, is in beta. It's advertised as that it's in beta. So there are, I guess, there's a certain allowance I can provide it, a certain amount of leeway I can provide it for not being perfect. But that shit has to be worked out before they take that beta tag off. I don't know if maybe just between the four of us, we all suck, or we just couldn't figure it out because we're all stupid. But really, it shouldn't be that fucking difficult. And that's, I don't know, especially me as a console gamer, like, I do not like when games make features like that should just work that difficult to figure out. So, did you guys have any thoughts? Feel free, throw them out there about the multiplayer.
One thing I wanted to chime in on, and this is tied to the multiplayer, but in the game as a whole. There's one character class in particular that is basically completely useless unless you're playing it in multiplayer, and that's the Song Weaver or whatever. She's like a support character, and I don't know if any of you guys actually tried to play as that character, but I think it's one you have to unlock. But like all
Then
of
that would be a
her
big fat no.
all of her abilities involve stringing notes together, and she's very much a support-only character. I was not able to play for more than about 2 minutes before I just died outright, because all of her abilities, seriously, all of her abilities are all about buffing allies, and like there are no direct attacks at all. Like it felt like, hey, this could be really fun in a co-op type experience, but lacking the ability to actually have that co-op experience, that class is essentially completely useless. And the thing that makes me really sad is I think that's the class you have to play the game as to win. But for reasons I won't go into beyond, that's my theory at this point. But
Right. Interesting.
yeah.
Anybody else with multiplayer thoughts?
It was a lot of fun. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
No,
But it
you're
was a
good.
lot of fun. We all know it was fun as hell when it was working for the
When
30
it was
seconds.
working, that's the thing.
It was badass. The sun cultist moves and shit, all of it was great. But then no. I wish I didn't have to pay the amount I paid to have that experience.
Yeah, I mean that's my thing. If you have something that
It's
there's a lot of things that are good when they're working. A car is great when it's working. People are good when they're working.
like you were saying. It does feel like kind of feels like an alpha.
Yeah.
Well, the game itself feels like it controls well enough to be a live. I mean, it's good enough to be out of early access and to be a live game. A few patches need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
As far as online multiplayer, it is definitely a beta experience. It's probably closer to alpha. They probably have it in place, but the feature is just not ready yet. Um, I mean, I really wish that they would utilize a better system. There are several out there that could handle it a lot better than how they were doing it. And the method that they seem to be using, I mean, that's kind of archaic. That's been used historically. I mean, this isn't Half-Life or this isn't,
Right.
7 co-op. There are so many better ways to handle that now.
It might have
Uh,
just been the easiest way for them to do.
yeah, I mean,
Quick and
there's,
dirty.
I mean, you could throw up a dedicated. I am a person. I prefer dedicated servers. I
Mm-hmm.
am a big fan of dedicated servers. I don't care about how much setup there is for them. I will dig through and do it because it's usually the payout is a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they currently have it, I mean, it's nice to give you that IP. That's fantastic. That's great. But if you're also doing a recording and you happen to capture that in there, now a lot of people have your IP address. So that's something else to keep in mind if you're
Don't
doing.
know if you noticed that there is an option to hide that. By
Yeah,
the
there
way.
is an option.
Yeah,
to
I
that,
didn't even. I honestly did not even pay attention because I
but
mean,
regardless.
we were trying so hard to get it to work. The only thing that really worked was the DMZ when we had to punch it through a DMZ, and
Yeah.
even after that, the game itself would. The biggest problem I saw with it is when you get to that multiplayer menu, and then one person is not able to proceed. You cannot back out of that game until the game
It,
crashes
it,
out
it
for you.
basically hoses everybody.
I just gave the camera the bird.
So that was like my main pain point is like that needs to be streamlined. You need to always have an escape mechanism if you have a feature in there, especially if it's beta.
Fair
they
point.
need
You
to
need to
have
be
a
able
way
to back out of things.
Yes.
Not get completely hosed and then dependent on someone else to cancel out of something for you to escape. Yep. 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 Yep.
I am hearing a song here I've not heard before, and this is like blessing my soul.
Okay, Popeyes. All right, so that's the
Oh,
multiplayer
shit.
part out of the way.
Sorry,
No,
surprise me.
no, hey, you're fine. You're playing the game. You're getting your 13 or 14, however much you paid dollars out of it.
You know what? I think well, that's later section.
Well, we're jumping into that now. So why don't
Okay.
you go ahead and lead us off, Jatois? What is your overall final thoughts? Game, the price, would you recommend it? Anything else you want to throw out there about it?
My overall thought on this game is go buy this game. Do go buy it because I actually love this game. As much as I say negative about this game has so much damn potential. It's ridiculous. I mean, the way that the enemies attack you is a bit obnoxious. It's all swarms. You will always be attacked in a swarm. That is kind of stupid because you always know what to expect. But all the problems aside, this is a really good game to play. Local co-op is going to be fantastic 4-player. I haven't tried it yet. I have intends to try it later on this week. But this is a really good game for local co-op because, I mean, the gameplay is really fluid. Don't get me wrong. The angular shooting, the hitboxes are bad. But your normal up, down, left, right, those hitboxes seem to be working a lot better than anything else that I've seen in there. But there is a problem. There are several problems with the game. There are numerous problems with the game. but this game has too much potential to actually not go out and buy. And I think that $15 for a game that offers 4-player co-op local, and eventually will have 4-player online co-op, I think it's well worth it.
All right then. Will, what are your final thoughts on this game?
I'm probably going to go back and try it with keyboard controls because my opinion on I mean, I don't know if that's going to even work, but it seems like it's got
that's
a
going to
lot.
alter your opinion of the game for the better. I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, it feels like you should be able to play it more like a bullet hell where you can always pivot your character in any of the degrees of movement that you can also do. You know what I mean? It just doesn't
Well, I
feel
think you're thinking more of like a twin stick shooter,
right.
like a Geometry Wars kind of game.
Yeah, it feels like because of the swarming enemies, you should be able to kind of crowd control and use the abilities. It just doesn't. I don't know. I want to like it so much, but I don't know. I'm inconclusive.
I mean, to be honest, you
I'm a little
almost
biased
can
with
twin
tonight's
stick it.
experience.
You can
No,
almost
yeah, I
twin stick
understand
it, but
that.
it's very close to a twin stick.
It is close. I will give it that. It is close, and it's definitely that's where it's
No,
trying
it's
to
not.
slide into.
No, it
It's
really
not.
is.
I'm saying
It's not.
it's
No.
close.
If you look at if you actually utilize your second stick, you will see that there's an arrow that pops up.
No.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
The
That-
problem
that's-
is the way that it shoots. There's no freaking way if you press on X that you will be able to use that at the same time. It's not going to happen.
Like with
It's hard.
with the spirit blade, if you would be able to do that and like if you could do that and actually keep your character aligned correctly and use the skill that lets you jump back, and then it doesn't work. It doesn't work as a twin stick setup. The way the moves are laid out.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to add the ability to shoot while pressing down on the second stick, and that would it would work really well. They just need to add that in.
So
Let us remap our controls.
Yes,
That would be
Please.
the one thing that I would say, other than obviously the multiplayer. But
100% agree with that. That
Oh,
would
I
help.
unlocked the Song Weaver.
there you go. Have fun with that solo. Good times.
I'm gonna try that, and I'm gonna try and die.
so
Oh yeah, it's hard, but I mean it yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's my only thing. Otherwise, as I've basically been saying this whole time, I really enjoyed the heck out of this game.
Oh,
I
and the
feel it
Ancestral
was-
Witch.
I feel it was
Damn.
worthwhile for what I paid for it. I've already derived a lot of entertainment out of it, and I expect to continue to do so. So
well,
I like it. I'm sorry to disagree, but
how do you know
eh.
you're going to disagree with me? I might say something completely different.
you've been pretty freaking harsh on this.
Yeah.
He's still kind of bitter.
And
with
I've
the multiplayer.
I've been body languaging to the camera this entire time,
Dude, your tone alone is
telling
like,
everybody not to buy this game.
yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, my thoughts. I can see why this game has mixed reviews. I think it's positive or mostly positive in Steam. It might even be mixed. I don't remember.
Mostly positive as of right now.
Okay.
211 reviews.
I would definitely be on the opposite end of that. I feel like this game needed a little bit more time in the oven. I see what it's trying to be. I agree with Jatois that there is potential with this game. With every aspect, gameplay, story, everything, presentation. I just feel like it needs more polish. I've played games that accomplish what it's trying to accomplish 1,000 million times better than this game. I get that this is an indie title. It's a smaller game. It's not going to necessarily be able to reach the same tier as a AAA game. But that being said, it could still do what it's trying to do better. Wow, I got really quiet. Can you guys still hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm just that depressing. Cool.
Yeah. Much.
I would say this is a game to watch out for in the future. to maybe dive into after it's been patched a few times. Maybe after there's some kind of DLC or expansion that cleans up. Because, I mean, the opening intro movie is neat. I just feel like maybe it's polish that this game is lacking. Like, and when I mean polish, I don't necessarily mean that things look jaggy or weird. I mean, like, taking the time to add the little extra UI touches and little story elements and maybe a tutorial or just something to give this game a little bit more oomph, to maybe connect you with the characters more. I just wasn't motivated by anything in this game. I didn't care about anything in this game. The game doesn't really give you time to care about anything with that fucking day countdown. Like, once that came up on the screen, I was like, okay, whatever. Clearly, whatever I'm going to do isn't going to matter anymore. And I'm sure that's not true, but that's just the impression that I got. And I just, again, I feel like this is a game to look out for in the future as it improves. But right now, I would say spend your money on something better. I would say if this game was $5, sure, spend your money on it. But for $15, and we just spent an hour and a half and couldn't get a beta feature working, no, sorry, no. That is $4 away from games that are Game of the Year nominated. In fact, that is more than we spent on all of Life is Strange, and that game wipes the fucking floor with this trash. So,
How many hours spent do you have?
maybe two and a
Okay.
half.
All right. Well,
But
you can jump to your own conclusions there, as far as Steam refunds are concerned.
I mean, I would.
That was subtle.
I
really
would.
was.
No, I'm honestly.
He was-
I have not requested a refund, but I'm thinking if I still have the ability to do so, because.
Not that I would, but I can't because I've already played too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm at 3 hours, and I'm sure my request is going to be canceled. It's pending right now.
Yeah.
See,
Cancellation
I already
pending.
know that I'm not going to take this one back because I have really been enjoying. I'm still enjoying this game. I'm still playing, and I don't know. I don't know. There's something about. I think I'd like the ability to have a co-op game available for local co-op because not many people are. I mean, not many games are doing that. That I enjoy. This one has
That's
that
the
little.
key.
That's the touch.
That's the key. You enjoy it. You have to enjoy it for the local co-op to make a difference. And for me,
Exactly.
I wouldn't want to subject anybody else to this game because I don't like it.
Right.
So,
And
but-
that's valid. You are certainly entitled to your opinion.
yep.
But I have had so much fun with this game. It really surprised me. So
Yeah, I think it was a pleasant surprise. Sorry, I thought I was going to like
it's
it.
all right. I mean, we are allowed to disagree.
Yeah. And that's how I'm gonna to end it. We
Oh,
have a split
Fuck
group.
balls.
We have two people who like it. We have one person who's a little bit more indifferent, and then we have one person who hates it. What do you guys think? Put your comments below. Start the conversation up, and let us know. Thanks for joining us this week. Thanks to all my guests. We got Will, Joshua, me. Appreciate you guys being here. Sorry it took so long to get to this point in our recording process. Appreciate your patience. This game. So, anyway, thanks for joining us. Peace out. Thanks again to my guest this week for filming and for going through all the trials and tribulations involved with attempting to discuss our thoughts of the game. A big thanks to all of you for watching. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. Again, sorry about all the mishaps. But if you liked what you saw, please be sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. And also be sure to come back next week when we discuss a horror title called Black Rose. Until then, have a great week.